62 degrees right now, and a good opportunity for us to check our wallets and see if they're in line, in sync with our faith, right?
Good morning, Drew. How are you this morning?
Awesome, I must say. It's a great Friday morning, especially be on the radio. So, how you guys doing?
Doing great. We're starting to see the plans put forward by our presidential candidates. I know we talked a little bit about this last week. Any thoughts on how any of them or either of them or any of it lines up or doesn't line up with our church teaching?
Well, I was looking at economic policies. There's a few things. Like I saw one of them was they proposed to end the Federal Reserve and to change it to a different monetary system.
Wow.
Wait, sorry, that was Drew Blazsik's proposal.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I got that mixed up. Never mind, I'm sorry.
Never heard anything that intelligent.
I just got real excited. I got my own notes all mixed up.
Drew Blazsik for president.
So I would say I was kind of looking at a few of the economic policies. There's some, I'm going to do more of the controversial ones, the interesting ones. Trump, I think most people would know that he wants to extend the tax cuts from 2017. But then he proposed no taxes on overtime and tips.
Right.
Which is fascinating, I think, because that's one of the things. Waiters and waitresses, they work, and they hate when you give them a tip on a credit card because you got to pay taxes on it. But if you give them cash, they don't pay taxes on it. So overtime, I mean, that's interesting. I thought about that too, was we penalize people to get a second job because then you get to that next tax bracket.
Right.
Right? And then we penalize people to work overtime. Why penalize them?
Yeah.
Another proposal I thought about too was to propose if you work after retirement, like past a certain age, tax free, so people work longer.
Oh yeah.
Well, how about first we start with not taxing the Social Security check you get to start with?
Yeah, that'd be a good one too.
Yeah, that you it contributed while you were paying taxes at a pretty good rate. So anyway,
and then they just tax it again and bring it back. So a couple other policies by Trump: America First trade policy. So he's more of a protectionist with trade policies, with tariffs on Chinese goods that we've seen. He wants to extend that. Of course, energy independence, and then the kind of, the normal stuff like that. And then we got Harris. Here's some interesting things that she proposed. And what's interesting, I heard on the news, but I did not see it on her website. She did propose some stuff about the child tax credit, extend that, just some boring stuff. But she wants to support taxing unrealized capital gains, which is interesting.
Ooh. Wow.
And so just for people that are listening, what is unrealized gains? Is if you purchased, let's say, an asset for $100,000, then you sold it for $150,000, that $50,000 would be realized because you actually sold it, you made it. Unrealized gains would be that you have an asset for $100,000 and it went up. We assume it went up in value, and you did not sell it, you did not make anything. They want to tax you on if your assets went up.
Wow.
And let me ask you this: is there a credit if they go down?
I think so.
I don't think so.
No, I think it would have to be. So if you had your assets go up by 20% this year, then it went down by 20%, I would assume you get to claim it on your taxes.
Okay. All right.
But the dangerous thing is if you're a company and the value of your company went up, that means you're going to pay taxes on that value, and you would not. So companies would purposely try to make the valuation low,
Right.
Yeah.
and try to get sales.
Yeah.
And that's where they get the revenue.
And quite frankly, it forced a lot of companies into selling their businesses, I would assume, because they're paying such an exorbitant tax, they've got to take the profit out.
Yeah, so looking at that policy,
this is like pre-taxation. We're going to tax you on what we think,
we think you have.
Yeah.
So the stock market, investors would be the perfect example. If you had a stock and you all of a sudden get all this value, you probably like, I'm going to have to sell it. You might want to put your that would kill the stock market. Would she ever pass that? That would never get past Congress.
No, I don't think so.
That would be pretty radical. Another thing that she proposed, which is controversial, is price controls on groceries. I think we mentioned that a couple weeks back, but price controls never work. Price controls create shortages because if a firm cannot make the money to make the good, they can't make enough. They don't make it. They go into things they can make.
Right.
They can produce. So that would be kind of a negative thing, I would say, towards that. And then, of course, she supports things like the green climate change, the Green New Deal, try to more taxation on stuff like that and promote more, let's say, windmills in your backyard.
Yeah.
Another thing I saw, where she wants to get the federal minimum wage up to $15 per hour nationally. So that, if you look at that, that's roughly about $29,000, $28,000, $30,000 for minimum wage full time.
And that is a significant increase from the current status, right?
Yeah, I didn't look it up before. I want to say it's around 8 or 9. Something like that.
It's not nearly as high as you would think it is.
So just for people, we got to understand one thing. What does minimum wage affect? It does not affect people that have experience or education. Right. It affects people with low skills or high school students.
Yeah, we're talking about 15, 16-year-olds here.
Yeah, that's who it affects. So what's going to happen? A way a company hires someone is that you must produce at least or more than what you're worth, what they're paying you. That's what you have to produce. So if you cost more, they're going to have to hire someone that has the skills to do so. So it'll take longer to get into the market to do that. But hey, if any politicians listening out there, reform the Fed. That's step number 1 in the Drew Blazsik proposal.
Yeah, and I've got the yard signs ready to go. Yeah. Drew Blazsik for president.
You got it.
Hey, I got 1 vote, maybe, right?
Yeah, you
myself,
got mine, baby.
Myself.
You got 2 if the price is right. Drew Blazsik, always keeping an eye on our finances in line with our faith, and that's a great explainer on how we're standing here as we get closer to the election. So thank you so much for that.
Gotta love it. Then that's the slogan right there, Drew Blazsik, the explainer. There we go.
Explainer, yeah.
Got it, baby. Thank you, Drew.
Hey, no problem.